Hey, this will be the first installment of the start and sprint analysis of this athlete. We will begin on the videoing the right side. The left video being the initial test, while the right being the improvements and technical-wise discussions from the athlete. So we'll zoom in here just a little bit. So first thing we're going to look at is going from the back to front. So we're going to look at the initial back leg angle, and we're going to do that right now. Excuse me one more time. As you can see, the initial back leg angle is approximately 110 degrees, plus or minus 2 or 3. So brings us about to 110 degrees. While looking at the post, brings us closer to 90 degrees. Now for the back leg, it is ideally to have a preferable of anywhere from 100 to 120 degrees. Now the shift on the posterior, on the post discussions are probably due to the other factors which we will discuss later on. So the next thing we're going to look at in her stance is going to be her hand placement. Plays a big role in this. So as you can see, her shoulder alignment is not exactly ideal. Is going to be back behind her hand, which this indicates most of her weight will be backwards instead of forwards, like we initially want to provide that extra momentum. As you can see in the post discussions, it is shifted forward slightly more, however not quite what we want it to be. This could still be a factor of her not feeling comfortable in this position yet. So that's something that we'll need to continually fix and adjust. The last thing we're going to look at for her start on this right side view is going to be her hip levels. Actually, in the her hip levels are actually pretty straightforward and level, which will help indicate a good steady lumbar position. Whereas in the post, it's actually slightly upward a little bit. This could still also, again, be due to her uncomfortableness position and finding it awkward, which we will need to work on more. The next big thing, actually, for this view is going to be her head positioning. So her head positioning is naturally looking upward or like downward at her hand. It needs to be a little bit more tucked in. Same with the post. This will allow her greater tuck and maintain that forward positioning while she moves. Alright, so from the sprinting perspective, let's slow it down on the left side here. Excuse me. So, as you can see, she initially is going to take off. Note, actually, her hand moves right here, just slightly, before she actually gets that forward momentum. Now, normally in a 40-yard dash time, the hand placement, again, will be in a more neutral zone here, which will indicate her hand in the pocket. So when she actually does that initial takeoff, they won't count that as the start time. So she takes off. As you can see, that hand movement is the first thing to notice you see. She gets pretty good push off right about here. Her shoulders, hips, knee, and ankle are all in pretty good alignment. As she continues, her first step, as you can see, isn't very far out. This is potentially due to her lack of hip mobility and getting that knee up and driving outward. What I would have liked to see is that initial drive in her arm to be further out. Rather than keeping it tucked in and towards her face. This is potentially a movement pattern that she's adopted over multiple years of her running style. She continues to run. She's making solid contact with her on the balls of her feet. And she finishes pretty strong. However, there's some slight momentum change to the heel as she finishes. This could be just because she knew that she finished the crossing line and is slowing down. Now, when looking at the post, so this could be a habit of hers, which we need to continually address, but her hand still coming back to move forward instead of that initial hand in pocket and moving straight forward. So again, she maintains pretty good positioning here throughout her time. Her shoulder, hips, knee, and ankle, again, are all in alignment. Same thing again with her hand placements. You need to drive those hands out and attempt to carry that momentum forward. Here she actually makes contact. Her heels actually make contact with the ground while moving forward, maintaining good posture. However, that being said, her foot placements needs work. She's landing on the balls of her feet and running as if she would a long distance versus a sprint.